New goal. If you're a young adult between the ages of 15 and 17, chances are you're deep in the trenches. Either you already took a test and you're just waiting for your retest, or you're about to take a test. Here's my thoughts on why 2020 AP tests will be an absolute disaster. So if you didn't know, the tests are going to be held online and they're only going to be 45 minutes. Instead of multiple choice, each question will be a free response. Here's a rundown of basically all the changes College Board made to the AP format for this new 2020 test. And I got all this information from Compass Press that will be linked in the description. Since quarantine started months before the test itself, students have had significantly less time in order to prepare and be in class. So College Board will be testing them on less material, and there will be most likely a unit cutoff for which units will be tested. Now, College Board says the test will be extremely difficult and students likely won't have enough time to answer every single question, or at least every single question to the fullest extent. So it's not necessary to answer every question in order to get a 5. Now, this is really similar to the original test in which you don't have to answer each question correctly in order to get a 5, since it's graded on a curve. But we don't yet know how it's going to pan out with the change in point values and rubrics, and how students can be accurately assessed within 45 minutes. Which, if a 3-hour test can fly by, how fast will a 45-minute test go? And is that long enough for students to think about an entire course of information and accurately answer the questions in order to get a 5? And on the lower end, students who score a 1 and 2 will be able to protest their grade and have their teacher review their test. That's not College Board's concern, however. Their real concern is that the 5s won't mean anything if the test happens to be too easy. Now, when you run a test online, technical difficulties are almost certain. Whether you have internet issues or a second Chrome tab open to look up answers, or you just don't like the first question, so you close the test immediately. I joke about that, but College Board did say they have sensors to detect whether your internet actually did disconnect or you just closed the program. Which, if they actually are making you give them all those permissions to your computer, that's slightly concerning. If for whatever reason you want to retake the test, your first test date will be anywhere from May 11th through May 22nd, and the makeup test will be June 1. The makeup test will be June 1st through June 5th. And during the physics test, so many people had technical difficulties that you should take the first test and then try to take the second test if you have any difficulties. If you're planning on retaking the test, you have to do so through the AP testing makeup form. Yes. You'll only be offered this option if you are attempting to take the test and had some sort of difficulty. And this is very important to note. On the form, when you're asked if you're filling out the form because you had a technical difficulty, you have to select yes, or they will reject your form automatically. Now, this is all information I got right from the website. And they also said if you are selected to retake the test, your original scores will be voided. College Board does recommend that you try your best on the first test and then go for a retest if you don't like the score, because they can't guarantee that you won't have technical difficulties the second time. In order to make the test more secure, and in the hopes that colleges will accept the test as legitimate, they have imposed a certain amount of security measures. First off, you won't be allowed to have Grammarly installed, so if you have a test coming up, uninstall it so that you don't get held up when you're trying to take your test. Which brings up another thing about a 45-minute test. If you're 5 minutes late to the test, it's over for you. Now, this is something I got right from the website. They said that as a security measure, all AP tests will be open notes. Yes, I know, but I think that's funny that because they literally can't stop you from using your own notes, they're making that a new feature of the test, which is hilarious. Now, any notes you have will have to be printed out or written down. On top of that, they'll also have their teachers review their own students' tests. Now, here's something you must know. College Board will be blackmarking those they've deemed to have cheated on one of their tests. And if you're blackmarked by College Board, they will contact your college and tell them you cheated, which does bring into question how much power a non-for-profit organization has over students who pretty much have to take the test in order to be competitive in college. Now, should you cheat? Absolutely not. You should not cheat on this test because the implications are so high, and if they have all those security checks, most likely they will catch you. College Board has a chokehold on most students who go to high school. It's such a necessary part of getting into college and getting ahead, and that the fact that they get to tell colleges that you submitted to them, that you pay for them to send your score to, that you cheated on a test that's online. But don't worry, they'll send your blacklist to the college for free. What I think is you might get credit for completing the test and getting a passing grade, but I don't think they're going to have it replace any actual class that you're going to have to take at university. And as a first-year student who took 7 APs, I quickly found out how powerful getting a good grade on an AP test can be. Now, it's not just as straightforward as you got a 3, so you passed, and so you get 3 college credits for it. But in reality, you might get credit for your social studies APs as elective credits, but your main science classes and your literature classes and your math classes will actually show colleges that you don't have to take certain general education classes. So of the 7 APs I took, 3 of those were social studies APs, and I got elective credit for each and every one of them. But which ones were the real MVPs were the science APs. Now this is because when you have to take a science, you also have to take a lab in college. So it comes out to 4 or 5 credits, which is the most credits you're going to be taking out of any single class in college. And also, those are generally the hardest classes for incoming freshmen. So the fact that I didn't have to take 2 chemistry classes in college was really helpful. And there are also math and English requirements. So taking AP Lang and Comp and AP Calc also helped with that. And the other thing, getting a 3 isn't quite good enough. It might take care of 1 class, but getting a 5 on a regular science AP would get you out of more classes, and that'll save you a lot of time at university. Now, instead of getting elective credit, most universities will give you credit for the classes that you no longer have to take. So because my science APs took the place of a science class and a lab, which is worth 5 credits, I ended up coming into university with about 39 credits, which put me into sophomore status. For the 2020 AP test, however, I don't think colleges will see that as an adequate demonstration of a student's knowledge. So I don't think they're going to offer any credit aside from just elective credit. If they don't accept the credit, then there's essentially no way that students in 2020 can get college credit before going to college, which, as we stated earlier, is super important. Another criticism is the fact that teachers will get to review the tests of students that don't get good scores. Now, there is a reason, surprisingly, why teachers don't usually grade the tests of their students. It's because even if they don't know which students' tests they're grading, they might be able to figure it out through the writing, as they've graded the students' writing over the entire year. Which I think in an online format, most tests, for a variety of reasons, won't test the student's actual ability. So at university, I've had to take a couple online tests, and even though I knew the information for them and ended up getting a good grade, it was notably more difficult to go through each question. Even though one of the tests was multiple choice, there was only one question on the screen at a time. And when I wanted to go to another question, it had to individually load each question. And since nobody has zero ping internet, it ended up being very tedious to go through each question and then go back to questions that I skipped. Now, since these questions won't be multiple choice, that isn't too much of an issue, which makes me wonder, since typing is so much faster than writing by hand, why isn't everybody allowed to take tests like that? But I have to tell you, all of my essays that I had to write and all my short answers was just a pain. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed that. Those were my thoughts on the 2020 Advanced Placement Test. And also, if you found this video entertaining or informative, drop me a like. Much like a 5 on an AP test, it shows YouTube that I am adequate at making YouTube videos. Oh, before I forget, during this video, our most viewed video hit 9 views. So we have to update. There we go. And a tip that I got from the book Rise and Grind by Damon John is that you have so much time. So after you're done with your AP test, don't waste your whole summer doing things that are stupid. And now that I have 1 video on my channel, I'm able to have an end card. How cool is that?